And today we have a panel on engineering your career. And it's going to be led by Deepti Srivastava, a technical program manager at Google, the storage group.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Soumya. Welcome to Engineering Your Career. I'm Deepti, and we have a panel of fantastic women here who represent various different career paths and career choices that you can have with an engineering degree, some of which you may not even know existed. So since we have a very short time, let's go right into it. Let's start with you, Shambhavi, and why don't you tell us about who you are and what you do?
Hi everyone, my name is Shambhavi. I trained as an aerospace engineer at MIT. I worked at Boeing for a couple of years where my job was to put the internet in space. I installed Wi-Fi on the space station and space shuttle. After that, went back to MIT because I didn't like sleeping very much, got my MBA, and started a company while I was there with another brilliant woman named Kim Gordon. We were both very into the arts, so we started a company that was called Voir. We just changed our name to Depict.
Hi everyone, I'm Jay Wong. I studied computer science and design at UNSW in Sydney, Australia. I started my own company doing software, building business enterprise software, and now I'm a UI designer and prototyper on the Google Plus Hangouts team.
Hi, I'm Ellie Powers. I grew up here in the Bay Area. I did my computer science degree at MIT. But I always found people to be just a little bit more interesting than technology, so I was happy to find a way to bring those two things together. I've been a product manager for about 10 years, working here in the Bay Area, in Paris, and in London. I'm currently a product manager on the Google Play team working in the mobile space.
Hi, I'm Dee Speed, UX design manager and lead here at Google. My career started in a very strange place. I actually have a Bachelor of Science, or pre-medical sciences, in biochemistry and physics, with a double major in art. I actually began as a medical and scientific illustrator. Got out of medicine and decided I wanted to teach myself design, so I'm completely self-taught from beginning to end. Have worked at companies like Google, Yahoo, Amazon, Microsoft, you name it, I've probably been there and worked for them. And this is where I am today. Nice to meet all of you.
So we all know my name by now. It's Deepti, and I'm a technical program manager in Google Infrastructure. I did my undergrad in England in computer science, and then did grad school at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I grew up and born and grew up in India, so this is the farthest I can be from home. Like, literally, this is a 24 to 30-hour journey back home. So, yeah, here I am. And similar to what Ellie said, I really like science and technology and critical thinking, but I also like people. And I wanted to find a way to bridge that gap. And I also like sort of translating between technology and not technology and business and product and design and and various different things that you can put together to make what is a technical product. So I find myself in this role now as a technical program manager, and it's really fun. So the way we want to do this is basically allow you guys to ask us questions. So we have a few volunteers in the room that have mics, so if you could raise your hand when you have a question for us, we can try and answer it for you. There's one in the front.
Hi, my name is Rasha. I moved to the US 4 months ago, and that was right after I decided to change my career path from social media strategies and event planning to actually programming. And I got into that, and I participated in a contest was like between Udacity and Google, and it was awesome. And I developed this game, and I won for the most innovative game, and it was like, oh my God, I'm doing amazing things. Then I had this bad idea of applying for jobs. And the first job I applied for was for Google, and it was the worst experience of my life. I'm sorry, no offense for Google, but that was my first job interview ever. I didn't know what to expect. And I wanted to do front-end based off what I did and what I loved. And I ended up, I didn't know what to say or do, and I ended up saying, I'm too stupid to be in Silicon Valley. That's it, that must be the problem. And I cried myself out. So then it took an hour, then I was back to programming and reading again. But ever since I came to Silicon Valley, I have no life whatsoever, no friends. I just do programming. And I even have like a study buddy where I do algorithms for fun. So I know I want to do this. After this Google experience, I actually managed, within the last 2 months, I built 2 websites. I'm a mentor at Tech Innovation. I got someone to sponsor me, to offer me a sponsorship for Hackbride.
Sure.
But I still feel I'm nowhere. And I don't know where to go. And I don't know which, I might applied for the wrong job. How do I know that I'm applying for the right one? I know what I like, but I don't know what title is fit for that. So what should I do?
Let's start with, it's not easy. Yeah, sure. So I think the question really is, how do you find the right fit, find the right job, right? And we can throw it to the panel, but I think, first of all, it's not easy for anyone or most people, so you're not alone.
Okay.
And the second thing is, don't give up, right? It's not about you and that you don't fit. If you are passionate about something, it'll come out, right? You'll find the right fit, so you have to keep trying. But I was wondering if any of the panelists had a similar experience and if you can talk to it.
I can. One time when I was looking for a job, I applied to 250 jobs, and then I found a job. I was actually in a slightly similar situation, moving from one country where I was not from to another country where I was not from, having no connections, not even knowing what job websites to go on. I know that can be incredibly stressful. It sounds like you're a really passionate person, but the great thing about jobs, you only need one, right? Only one of them has to come through. Or even better yet, none of them will come through. You'll start your own thing. It'll turn out to be awesome, and you'll be interviewing other people. So I guess I would just say your experience is not alone. It doesn't mean you're doing the wrong things. And, try doing some interviews, like fake ones, or apply for jobs that you really don't want. I actually did this when I was a student. I signed up, I knew that there were going to be some interviews I really wanted to get through. And there were other ones that I would just stick my resume to saying, I definitely don't want to work there, but I just want to see what this is all about. And so maybe finding, if you're already doing mentoring, maybe there's someone who can fake interview you, or you can go to an interview for something just as practice. Because I think it can be really hard when you're very tied to the outcome. And then, it's super disappointing. But, the first time you try to do a cartwheel or something like that, it's not going to work. The first time you go to a job interview, not getting it, I think, is par for the course. So, and just know that you have to apply to 250 jobs. So you've done one. So that means you have 249 left. So just check them off. And if you get a job before that, you're doing really awesome.
How do you know you're applying for the right title?
So, I guess you can go ahead, Dee.
Sorry.
Jay, sorry. Yeah, I was just thinking that, to Ellie's point, right, there's, now there are so many resources out there, right? You can go online, you can look up what the interview questions are, you can look up what people think about jobs, what type of jobs they applied for, what the outcome was, what was it that was missing in their resume, what was it that was missing in their questions, right? Practice is, for anything, right, is important. And as Ellie said, you have to start with the ones you don't care about. The other thing about job interviews is we're all really stressed out about getting a job, right? But the point of the job interview is not just you being interviewed, but you also figuring out if the people you're talking to are the people you want to work with. What is the kind of work you're doing, right? So that you understand what the job role really means and whether it's a fit for you or not, right? That's how you figure out if the title is almost immaterial in some sense, right? Let's say there's a title VP of blah, blah, blah. The point is, what does it mean for you to work at that job, right? What are they expecting from you, right? And do you want to be doing those things? And it's okay if you got an interview with Google or Facebook or whoever, and you went there and the job that they described that you had to do you didn't like, it's okay. It's okay to say no. It's okay to be this is not the right fit. Maybe I should try something else, right? So it's a matter of trial and error and also educating yourself beforehand. Jay, were you saying something?
And also, the role that you're kind of being hired for, you can kind of make it your own. Even though I was hired as a user interface designer, I also have a computer science background, and I found that I really missed doing a lot of engineering stuff. So, I kind of have moved into more of a prototyping role, and that's not necessarily on my title still, but day to day I'm doing a lot of technical, building things, building apps, and, I guess that you can kind of make your career or make your job role be whatever it is, and you don't have to just think, I'm being hired for this role and this is the only thing I'm ever going to be able to do. Just know you can kind of move and create your own career path.
Do we have another question? Thank you for that.
Say you want to switch into a role that you have no experience in, like for example, you want to do machine learning and you complete a machine learning course on Coursera, but every time you apply for that particular job in every company, they're like, you don't have experience, so we'll not hire you. What's your advice on that?
It only takes one hiring manager somewhere along the line to believe in you. So first of all, don't stop and give up. If I had done that, I would not be here. I drew pictures of bugs and cellular matrices of plants. And yet to say today that I lead a design team at Google, it's a big feat. So actually, this goes along with what you had spoken about as well. Be careful who you compare yourself to. It's very easy, especially in Silicon Valley, to get caught up in this bubble that I need to be as good as this other person that I've heard about, or that term rock star. We had a discussion about this earlier, is being bandied about so much and so often. Just really be careful who you compare yourself to, and honestly, don't give up. Our industry changes so much. You take 4 months off, 4 to 6 months, and something new is available yet again. Just keep at it, and really it'll come down to, there's that one hiring manager that looks at you and sees that potential and says, you know what, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, why I would hire you based on your potential is you're probably gonna be a more long-term, comfortable employee. I've invested in you, you feel comfortable, you've grown here, you learned a lot. You're also more likely to stay than the hotshot guy who's looking for their next fix. They're more likely to move on a lot quickly, right? So there's a lot to be said for just sticking to your craft and being adamant about it, that's the path you want to follow.
I'm going to 100.
This is my exact, this is what happened to me last 14 months ago, for a year before I became a technical program manager in Google infrastructure, right? That I knew I wanted this job where I wanted to lead a technical team. I wanted to be part of the technology, but I wanted to do more than just programming, which is what I had been doing for a long time, right? And the thing is, when somebody sees your resume and sees that you have 6 years of systems engineering experience, that's what they want to hire you for, because that's where you've proven yourself, right? But it takes, as Dee said, it takes one hiring manager, right? So, and it took me a year to get that job, right? Because I kept saying, no, I don't want this, I want that, right? So I'm going to keep on asking for that job until I find it, right? I'm not going to settle. The one thing you have to be comfortable with in yourself is, this is really my passion. This is really where I know I will be good. And if I haven't proven myself, that's fine. I've proven myself in these other, these other things. I'm a good engineer. I've managed, you have to highlight how what you want to do is something you can learn on the job, for sure. But you also have to have the confidence to say, I want to do this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to settle. So whatever else you offer me, I don't want. I want this.
And I want to 100% agree with everything that they've said. At my company, we've been hiring recently, and we really look for that potential in a person, even if they don't necessarily have the degree in computer science or a degree in what they've done. We look for your passion projects. What are you working on the side? And if you can show us something really cool and interesting that you've built, we're very interested in talking to you. And I think that's something that you could do. Obviously, you have a passion for building things, and you want to learn new things. And if you can show that person who's interviewing you that, yeah, I don't have a degree in this, but I've built something cool around it, or I'm very passionate about it and I do it on the side, it's going to come out, it's going to show.
If the hiring manager is very smart and strategic, they would hire you because you're putting your passion into your project. I would rather hire you than someone who'd been doing the same job for 10 years and they were tired of it. You're not going to get the motivation out of them in the same way that you would, because you're more likely to try harder.
Absolutely. You're looking for fresh energy, like a new perspective on things, and I think that's very, very valuable, and that's something you can show people.
So maybe after this we can get a question on the back, because I feel like the peeps over there are getting neglected, and we don't.
Hi.
Yeah, absolutely.
So see, if you're working as a senior software engineer in a small company and you got a really good opportunity in Google, but that position is software engineer, right? So it's like demotion in a kind of a title, whereas it's not a demotion. Maybe you are working with the really cool people in Google, but you have a senior software engineer, and sometimes people are like, no, title matters. So how can you overcome that? And because instead of going into your career, you are just climbing down the hill.
So is the question that you're getting a job as
so you are
similar?
working as a senior software engineer, but although you are trying for senior position, but you get a software engineer position.
I see. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Although that position has more innovation, but the title itself takes senior out of it.
So the question really is, what do you do if you get an opportunity, but the title isn't what you were expecting in terms of career acceleration or career growth, right? So do any of you want to take it, or shall I go?
I mean, for someone who works at a small company, I can tell you that titles 100% don't matter. It might be different, I don't know if you're at a bigger company, but we have people who we will promote up if they do a really good job and prove themselves on the job and show us that you have the passion and the capability. We will give you the responsibilities that you need. But as for titles, I would never let that slow you down. You can show people what you can do on the job, especially if it's an opportunity that you really want.
So I think another thing to think about is that why do you want that senior title, right? What is it giving you? Is it that your peers are giving you validation? Is it that you're getting validation yourself? Is it that with that title comes a different compensation layer? What is it, right? So for example, in my team, people from level 2 to level 6 are all software engineers, right? And all TPMs are TPMs, right? I'm not going to tell you I'm TPM level X. What does that tell you? What does that tell you about my ability to do X, Y, Z? So that is very important, I think, especially if you want to have a 30-year career and you have a long-term trajectory. What is it? Are you tying your self-worth to your title, or is the title giving you something else, right? So if you do a good job, so first of all, if you're in a company where the only thing that matters is the title, and that's the only reason why people are going to listen to you, you might want to think about why you want to be in that company, right? Mm-hmm. And the second thing is, the real validation is when you get responsibility and when your peers respect you for your opinion and when your managers compensate you in various ways for being part of that team, right? That is the real validation. There's no point in being VP and then getting the same compensation or validation or ear as somebody who's junior, right? So you really have to look at whether you're tying yourself to a title and whether where you are is really respecting your input.
There are times, and there will be times in your career, when it actually is a very strategic move to take a step backwards, or what may feel like a step backwards. But you have to figure out, is it because I'm gaining something for myself out of it? Are you learning new skills that otherwise you wouldn't have done? Think about it like this: can I learn new skills in a less high-profile environment where there's less stress? Mm-hmm. I can focus on that and just get better at whatever my craft is. And then this is yet another tick on my resume of something great that I've done. Then you go out and seek that higher level position. But by no means, please, please, no one in this room tie your self-worth to a title, because titles come and go. They change every day. Ask any UX person how many times we've gone through title changes, even in the last month. One day you're a designer, the next day you have no clue what you are. And you still can't explain it to your parents when you go home for the holidays. So.
Did you want to add something, Jay?
Yeah, and just as a real world kind of example of what Dee was saying, so I founded my own company, and I was, CEO, and and now I'm a UI designer at one person in a very, very large company. But the reason why I did that is because I wanted to surround myself with a lot of really amazing people, and I wanted to learn from them. And at Google, it's not about, you're not just going to come straight in as a senior software engineer. It's about proving yourself. And, people at level 3 or 4 or 5, we actually all do very similar jobs, at different levels. You're doing the same thing. And a lot of the time, all the level really is just an indication of what contribution you've made and how you've proved yourself to be more valuable to the company. And so the title is very trivial.
Yeah, I think I just want to summarize, because we've had some really great points. If you're learning, taking a step back is a good thing, right? If you're just sitting there because and you're not learning, you need to move, right? So do we have a question in the back?
Yeah, hi. Dee Speed, I have a question for you. As you mentioned that a strategic manager will surely consider someone who wants to make a role change, like from an analyst to product manager. What is the best approach to even make a contact with that strategic manager? Sometimes some of our resumes get filtered at the recruiter level. Could be you will be your best match, or you'll have great ideas. How is the best way to develop a network, or how can we reach out to that right manager who would even look at your resume?
So your question is, how can you, what's the best way to reach out to someone already possibly in the role that you're looking to move to? Is that what you're asking?
Or in the role, that will be more of an informative section that you can have an informative interviews, most of them are ready for. It's more of a job that particular manager would have.
So you were saying that there's a great, a good manager will like seek you out and like actually hire you, or at least understand that you have potential, right?
Definitely make yourself feel known first. Approach that manager and explain to them. I've actually added 2 people to my team recently who had very little background in design, but what they did have that I found our team was lacking was really good skills in observation and analysis. And considering our work on Google Analytics, which is a measurement tool and a product, there were skills that they brought to the team that I hadn't otherwise really thought about until they brought it up. So for sure, definitely seek out those managers. Like I said, if they're a good manager, they will sit down with you and take the time to try to understand your skill set. And don't be afraid to talk about yourself and sell yourself up. It's really difficult for a lot of us to do. I still find it difficult for myself, come time to say, should I go up for promotion or should I not? There's a lot of that. So again, if you feel you're lacking a skill set, that's one thing, but don't be afraid to chase it and talk to those people. Talk to also people that are in the level that you think you may be arriving to that position in. So say you're coming from sales and you do want to go into something like design, talk to a designer who just got hired, because they're probably on that same entry-level path as you. Talk to them about their career history and the basic requirements or the skills that they've gathered up until that point. But really, it's a conversation that actually just needs to happen. Sorry, bless you.
You make yourself known.
Hired!
So the way I think about making career changes is that usually when you're making a change, you're changing something, but you're probably pivoting and keeping other things the same. So that could be, for example, maybe I'm working as a software engineer on one product and I'm going to go and become a tester on the same product. Or maybe I'm moving from one company to another, but I'm keeping my role the same. So I think understanding what are the things that you want to keep the same and what are the things that you're willing to do differently will be helpful. And I think if you're trying to, let's say I'm a product manager, so I'll just use that as an example. If you're an analyst now and you want to become a product manager, is there some background that you have as an analyst that would now actually make you a very attractive product manager? So like, for example, what Dee was saying, if you have the skills of observation or you're a good analytical background, maybe you'd make a great product manager on an analytical product or a product that you used to be a customer for. If I send a lot of Gmails, even if I don't know anything about being a product manager, maybe I have opinions on how Gmail should work. So trying to create a case, both in your mind and the mind of the hiring manager about, well, look, I realize that a few things are going to be a little bit different, but actually, here are the things that I can use to transfer from my previous experience, whether that's an industry, a company, a product, or so on. And then also find ways to start doing your new job already. And that could be, taking on a separate project, like being the product manager for a side project that you're doing or for a charity, or one thing we do at Google a lot is these 20% projects, so going and helping another team. I've had a lot of people approach me and say, well, I've essentially taken on a new project where I'm acting as the product manager, so even though that's not my title, I actually have a bunch of people that I've been acting as product manager for, and they could talk to you about my skills there. So just focus on how you can kind of create that continuity in the mind of the hiring manager.
So I just want to add to what Ellie said about how you can make it easier, right? How many things you want to change at the same time while keeping certain things the same. Very important. You could also take the really hard road that I took, where I changed my job, my company, my team, my house, and everything at the same time. Not a great idea. Of course, it builds character, I guess, but you don't want to necessarily do that each time you change, right? And the other thing is, I think girls or all of us think that people can read our minds, they can't, right? So if you want to, like, if you see some guy, some manager, some person, guy, girl, whatever, you know, and you want to be in their team because they seem like really cool managers, or they're doing things that you want to do but you don't know how to approach them, talk to them, right? More often than not, this is a secret I learned like now, 10 years after I started my career, that people are usually happy to talk to you, right? They actually want to talk to you. They're probably getting away from a meeting because, you know, they're talking to you, so they want to do that, right? So approach them and don't be afraid. I mean, okay, so you sounded silly once. That refines you to sound better the next time, right? See what sticks, what doesn't stick. So.
Yeah, and always remember that it's not just you that's kind of looking for a job. Like, we're all looking for great people too. So it's in their best interest to talk to you. I actually think a really good technique is just to reach out to, I think as Dee said, reach out to other designers. And that's not even necessarily within your company. Like, if you go to like events where there are people that are doing the things that you want, and you reach out to them, I'm sure that like any number of them would be happy to talk to you and happy to kind of give you advice. And people are always looking. So I think that technique works really well.
Yeah, so I think we're all touching on networking and fearlessness. So I think the next one will have to be our last question because we have almost 3.5 minutes. Okay, so we have one over there, sorry. Sorry, guys.
Hey, so what one advice would you give, if possible, all of you, one each, to somebody who's basically struggling, and that's me in this case? I'm working with a startup for like 4 years, and I feel it's pretty stable, stagnant, everything is good. But moving up in the ladder is difficult. So I'm trying to switch and move to other companies. I have really good interviews lined up with big companies. But I want to move towards product management from my engineering role. But I see if I go to some other company, I'm going to stay at the same level or doing the same thing for the next 4 or 5 years. So what one advice you would give? Like, stick here, try to get the role you want, or move and maybe in the new company take the risk of moving up to the other position you want to
Sure. So the question is, how do you decide whether you want to stay in a particular role after you've been there for a while, or do you want to switch to a different role? I think what I'd suggest is we all just talk about it really quickly. So I'll just start and then we'll end with Shambhavi. So here's the thing, right? You have to think about where you are at and how you're feeling about it, right? If you've been in a role, because I was in this situation also. I was in a role for 5 or 6 years, and yeah, I've been in every situation, haven't I? I was in a role for 5 years, and I was like, if I just, stick it out, like, I'm one of those people that doesn't quit, like bulldog, you chew on it, and like, yeah. Right. That's sometimes a good thing, sometimes not, right? So if people haven't noticed you and haven't given you the kind of things you want in 5 years, chances are they're not going to give it to you anymore, right? The second thing is you have to be aware of what you want. So when you're talking to the next interview that you're doing, right, next roles that you're looking at, you have to be clear and confident that this is what I want. Can you give it to me or not? If not, why not? What am I missing, right? Okay. Right? But you can't settle then, which is what I said earlier. So you have to be clear on what you want and go for it. Okay. Sorry. Dee.
If you are feeling frustrated, the frustration has a source. The frustration could be anything from I've been here, I'm not being recognized, to I'm just bored. So first, recognize the frustration. And then I think a lot of us forget when we're interviewing at companies, we forget to ask the company, what can you do for me? So you should be asking that next company, if it matters to you that I'm in an environment where I can continue to learn, I want to work around people that, yes, they're smarter than me and frankly scare the crap out of me, they're so brilliant, that only makes you better, and don't be afraid to chase that. But be really clear what your motivations are, and don't feel like you're ever stuck. I mean, obviously, if this were my mom saying this, she'd say, honey, don't leave that job just yet until you've got something else lined up. And I'd say, okay, yeah, that's a smart move. There's so much work right now in so many areas of our industry. Just don't be afraid. Be completely fearless and seek out what you want, because you don't want to look back after another 2 years and you're still at the same company and you're only slightly more miserable, wondering why you didn't take a chance. Go ahead and take the chance.
Cool. I guess super quick. I stayed in my first job almost 5 years, and I've never stayed in another job that long since then. It sounds like you need to shake it up. I would definitely encourage you to go to something that makes you feel passionate again.
Okay, thank
Yeah, I would say, always think about what is it that you want, and think about where you see yourself or what you want to be in 5 years, and really take a hard look at, do I think that the company that I am at right now, are they really going to offer me that? And be really realistic about that. Right. And don't be afraid to take the risk, because the reality is always think of the worst case scenario. There are so many people that are looking right now for people with our skill set, especially in this industry, and they will, the worst case is you can always just kind of go back to the job you were doing before, or maybe not always, but something similar. And you really don't have that much to lose, but a lot to gain. Yeah.
I would say start your own company. You know what?
I wish.
No, but it's right. Yeah. No, but I mean, if you have an idea, definitely you should consider that. But I think what everyone has said so far makes a lot of sense. I went through the same thing when I was at Boeing. I was a little bit bored at my job, and I really liked it, but I wanted to pursue something else. So I just moved to Japan and started working there. I think it's always very important to go and do something that you're passionate about. Life will always give you great opportunities. You just have to reach for them.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.